Hey guys, tonight we're slipping into a wooden world of creaking planks and salt-bitten rope, where lanterns sway like sleepy fireflies and your breath picks up the rhythm of the tide. You stand at the edge of a crowded quay as dawn loosens a pale ribbon of light across the water. Tar warms underfoot, canvas sighs. Somewhere, a gull scolds the morning. You are about to step into a life measured not by clocks but by bells, not by streets, but by lines of latitude sketched on skin and chart. The fear you carry is quiet, like a pebble in the boot, not monsters, not glory, just a nagging thirst, and the rumour of blue fire that dances on masts when storms grow teeth. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. If you're listening from a far shore or a small kitchen at midnight, drop your location and the time below. I love seeing where these voyages drift. Now dim the lights and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You walk the gangplank with a bundle against your ribs, the smell of hemp and smoke and fish settling into your hair. The deck tilts under your boots, testing your balance like a new acquaintance. You run your palm along the rail and feel the grease of pitch, the fine grit of dried salt. The ship breathes. You match your own breath to it. The ship's cat slinks past, thin, confident, tail up like a banner, then disappears down a ladder into the dark belly where rats keep their nightly parliament. Someone has chalked a clumsy star on the bulwark. Someone else has tied a scrap of red thread around the rail. You don't ask why, you already know. The bell rings, a hollow bronze sound that folds the harbour noises into neat parcels of time. You've been told there are watches, 4-hour stretches marked by 1 bell, 2 bells, up to 8, then back again. The ship's day forever looping like a rope coiled flat. It comforts you to have something counted when distance has no fingers. You tuck your bundle into your allotted space, half a barrel's width between hammock hooks, and you touch the smooth wood with 2 knuckles, because you saw the old hands do it. A greeting to the vessel, a request for patience. Under the mainmast, a copper coin flashes, hammered in the day before. That's for luck, they said, for a fair wind and a kindly sea. Records suggest crews in many ports did this. Some swore by silver, others by copper, and not everyone agreed which mast deserved the metal. Here the coin sits, where the captain's boot heel will pass each day, invisible to him, bright to you. You help haul the longboat in, your forearms sting under the hemp's bite. The bosun's voice is hoarse and precise. You do as you're told, you do not whistle. Someone mutters that whistling calls wind. Someone else says that's nonsense, then shushes you anyway. Belief on a ship is not a map, it's a fog. It hangs in the air and you breathe it until it belongs to your lungs. The ship drifts from the quay. Lines slap the water, and the water slaps back, lazy, untroubled. You glance toward land as though it will change its mind and follow, but the roofs of the town keep their backs turned. On the pier, a woman lifts a hand that may be a wave or a small contained grief. You lower your gaze to the deck and learn the names of things you will touch every day. Sheet, brace, stay, halyard. You say them under your breath like charms. You move with the others to unfurl canvas. The sail comes down with a fat, familiar whisper, and wind finds its pocket. The mast takes the pulling strain like a spine bracing under a load. You smell the ghost of last night's galley fire. The cook's hands are stained with smoke and onion. He nods without warmth or malice. You are one more mouth. You will be one more back at a pump when the sea comes in. One more pair of eyes on the horizon when the lookout tires. For now you are the weight of your body and the warmth of your breath in the morning chill. You belong in the simplest way, by carrying, by tying, by listening. The pilot stands near the tiller, with a battered chart pinned by stones. He traces with a finger, not the edges of continents but the tangle of winds and currents the chart hints at. He has a magnetic needle, and a box that knows the north without looking. You feel the ship turn, the harbour narrowing into a throat you pass through with a last reluctant swallow. The world opens. The floor beneath your feet is not a floor, it shifts in ideas rather than inches. You steady yourself, thumb finding a splinter, and worrying it out. Blood beads, bright, immediate, human. You suck your thumb and taste iron, tar, salt. A lead line waits coiled in a tub, tallow smeared in a small puck at its tip to taste the seabed. You will throw it and sing the soundings when called, a chant older than you, older than the ship, older than the fear of running aground where the chart goes vague. A mainstream fact nestles in your thoughts along these coasts. Pilots have been casting leads and reading portolan charts for generations, their memories threaded with capes and shoals and the moods of particular coves. The knowledge feels like another kind of rope on board, binding you to men who have not breathed for 200 years but still, somehow, guide your hands. The wind settles steady across your cheek. Your shirt dries where the spray touched it a moment ago. You hear laughter, sudden and raw, from the foredeck, first day nerves snapping like old line and flapping away. A barrel thumps. You look toward the pile of casks lashed in the shade of the boat skids. The water sits inside them now like a small secret worry. You swallow at the thought, not yet, not now, but the taste of the idea is in your mouth. Sweet at first, then less so. Letters hint that some captains tried to refresh water with thin vinegar or citrus when luck and profit allowed. You make a quiet wish for that sting on the tongue and move on. A gull crosses above the mainyard and shrieks like a hinge. The ship finds the sea's outside voice as the swell grows round-shouldered. The pitch of everything changes. A mariner at the pinrail ties a knot that looks like a clenched heart, then tucks a tiny wooden charm under the lashing. It's nothing, you tell yourself, just a splinter with a shape, but your fingers twitch to find something of your own. A stone from the beach, a button from your last shirt, a thread pulled from the hem of your bundle. You slide the thread under the rim of your hammock hook. No one sees. You feel lighter all the same. The watch officer walks past with a stride you try to borrow. He pauses at the cat, crouches and scratches the sharp angle of its spine. The cat blinks slow and indifferent, as if it invented the ocean and will repossess it if you misbehave. Good Mouser, someone says. The word good sounds luxurious at sea, extravagant as velvet. You catch it and tuck it away, to spend later on a worse day. The horizon lifts and falls in a smooth, hypnotic rhythm. You find the hollow of your throat, and rub the spot where your pulse taps. The ship drives on, and the town behind you shrinks into a sketch of roofs and a tower, and finally into a smear of grey. You think of the stories told on the quayside, blue flames that cling to masts when thunderheads march across the water. Barrels that turn bad and make a man dream of wells that go on forever. The maps with curled dragons sleeping where no one has sailed. Accounts contradict whether the old captain who told you these tales believed his own words or simply enjoyed the way your face changed when he spoke. It doesn't matter now. Belief and disbelief both lie down in the dark of the hold, and you will help feed them with labor until they either starve or grow large enough to climb the rigging. The bell rings again. The voices around you shift, some dropping to the mess, some up to the shrouds, some aft where the helmsman watches the compass card with the patience of a saint staring at an icon. The cat reappears with a tail of whisker and grey fur hanging from its mouth. The crew cheers quietly. The victory is small, cheap and perfect. You realize you will live on such victories: a clean coil of line, a dry pair of socks after rain, a tin cup of water that tastes like wood and distant snow. You stretch your fingers and feel the roughness of fresh rope burn beginning to write its small diary in your skin. You look ahead, and the sea is all there is, blue-green hide breathing under a sky that pretends eternity comes easy. Somewhere days from now a storm will lift its shoulders and shake itself awake. Somewhere weeks from now you might see fire that is not fire flicker on the yardarm, and hear men pray to a saint they barely remember until their voices break. For now it is enough to feel the ship's timbers speak in their slow wooden tongue and to answer by learning their verbs. Thirst waits in the wings. Rumor waits in the wings. You stand center stage and let the wind fill the sleeves of your shirt like a laugh. You will not allow it of your mouth. You set your feet wider. You nod to the bosun across the deck, and he nods back. The first day at sea rolls on like a soft drum under everything. The beat that says you are here, you are moving, you are small, and the world is very, very wide. The deck has its own music, and you begin to hear it as clearly as the gulls, footfalls, creaks, the thump of rope coils dropped into place. The bell speaks every half hour, a hollow bronze tongue that divides the endless day into pieces you can hold. You lean into the rhythm, the comfort of a schedule that does not ask for imagination, only obedience. 4 hours on, 4 hours off, a hammock when you can, food when it comes, water in the ladle when the barrel lid creaks open. Your hammock swings close to a stranger's. You climb in, feeling the sag of rope that presses against your back like ribs. The canvas smells of sweat and mildew, but it cradles you with a steadiness the deck never grants. You sleep when you're told, waking to another bell, to another stretch of sky. The men around you cough, snore, mutter. One whistles until someone elbows him to silence. The sound thought to coax storms from over the horizon. Another mutters a prayer in a tongue you barely recognize, words spilling into the sway of the hammocks. The ship breathes in patterns you're learning. The snap of canvas when the wind shifts, the crackle of pitch dripping where the sun strikes the seams. You feel it in your legs, a sway that doesn't end when you shut your eyes. They call it sea legs, but it feels more like sea bones, as though your body is remade by the tilt and pull. Records suggest it takes a week for a landsman's stomach to stop fighting. You count days by the emptiness that stops rising up your throat. The cook has a bucket ready near the hatch for new men who lose their stomachs. You've seen 3 already lean over it with pale faces, and no one laughs. The smell is bad enough, and laughter might tempt the same fate. Meals are simple, and each bite has the taste of permanence. Biscuit, so hard you soften it in brine. Salt beef, slick with fat, that leaves your fingers shining even after you wipe them on your trousers. A spoonful of peas that roll stubbornly across the bowl. You hear the cook curse at rats who gnaw at the store, curses that sound like prayers. Letters hint some ships kept cats as guardians, others ferrets. Here you have the cat, bold, quick, reminding you that survival is its own ritual. Once you even see the cook lift the cat onto his shoulder while he stirs the pot, as if the animal itself is seasoning the air with sharp authority. When you are called to the deck, you haul with the rest. Rope bites your palms, leaving raised welts that sting, then harden. You listen for commands and shout them back until your throat is raw. It feels less like understanding, and more like joining, your voice one thread in a thick rope that keeps the ship from unraveling. The sun beats down, sweat tracks dust across your temples, and the smell of tar sticks to everything. The bosun's call echoes through the rigging, sharp as a blade. He is feared, not loved, his whistle carrying the weight of punishment. You've heard tales of lashes given for sleeping on duty, or fumbling a knot. Records suggest captains varied, some cruel, some lenient, but you already know this one's discipline is tight as the rigging. A man who drops a block on another's hand could pay in lashes before all the crew. The stripes across his back a warning painted in blood and salt. Evening softens the sea. You taste smoke as the galley fire smoulders low. Shadows climb the masts. Hammocks are strung once more, and you sink into yours, listening to the low hum of men's voices. Someone begins a song, slow and rough, a story of home that you cannot quite follow. Accounts contradict whether such singing was tolerated or punished, but here it seems to be permitted in small doses, like a medicine you cannot afford to waste. You let it carry you down. Night on deck is its own world. You climb up for watch, breath whitening in the cool air, and the stars spread wide enough to drown you. The lanterns swing low, painting wood in trembling gold. The sea glimmers black, flecked with green sparks where plankton stirs. You walk the length of the deck, hearing only the sigh of sails and the faint slap of waves against the hull. The helmsman leans on the tiller, face set, eyes never straying from the compass card that glows faintly in the light. Someone coughs, someone spits over the side, someone whispers about a woman left behind. You pull your cloak tighter and remind yourself that land is weeks away, maybe more. Here the stars are both roof and clock. The sea outside is endless, But inside the ship, everything narrows. The press of shoulders, the scrape of elbows in passageways, the shared ladle of water, the hammock that rocks when the man beside you turns. It is closeness that both steadies and suffocates. You notice the small rituals of survival, men drying socks near the galley fire, until they smell of smoke, one sailor rubbing garlic on his neck to ward off illness, another tucking a carved charm into the beams above his hammock. These fragments make the narrowness bearable, or at least familiar. At dawn the ship stirs again. Men rub eyes swollen with sleep, spit over the side, mutter greetings like charms. You take your place among them, hands already rougher, voice hoarser, step steadier. The ship is less strange now. You have begun to belong, not because you are wanted, but because the ocean doesn't allow half measures. You carry your weight, or you drown. And so the rhythm holds you, bell by bell, watch by watch, until you can no longer imagine any other way to measure your life. Even the thought of streets and fields feels like a dream you once had, fading fast while this new world of ropes, sails, sweat and salt becomes the only reality you know. Morning wakes with a grey wash of sky, the kind that hides the horizon and makes sea and air one continuous skin. You rise stiff from the hammock, shoulders aching, and step onto the deck where breath fogs faintly in the coolness. The ship has its own ways of greeting the day. Men spitting over the side, boots stomping to shake loose damp, ropes running through calloused hands as sails are adjusted for the new wind. Somewhere in the midst of these motions you begin to notice the invisible thread that ties all of them together. Superstition. You see it first in small gestures. A sailor presses 2 fingers to the mast as he passes, whispering something you cannot catch. Another ties a knot in his belt cord and then unties it before pulling a line, as if loosing the knot frees the sail as well. The cat leaps across the deck, tail high, and the men pause, watching the path it takes. One mutters with relief when it lands near the forecastle. Another scowls as though the choice of direction bodes poorly. You realize these moments matter more than they seem. The way an animal moves, the way a rope falls, the way the wind arrives. At breakfast, a man cracks open a biscuit, and a weevil tumbles out, twitching. He grins and calls it meat with legs, then tucks it in his mouth, crunching. Laughter ripples, uneasy but real. Someone says it's luck to find extra life in your ration. Someone else spits at the thought, saying it means rot in the stores. Records suggest such beliefs varied from ship to ship. Some crews prized the insect as a sign of endurance, others cursed it as an omen of famine. Here no one agrees, and disagreement itself is another ritual. Half the crew certain, half in doubt, each watching the other as though the outcome will prove one side right. You learn to keep silent, to nod without committing yourself. Belief is a kind of cargo, heavy, delicate, shifting when the sea grows rough. Men carry it differently, and if you knock against their load, it may spill in ways that harm you later. So you touch the mast when they touch it. You step over ropes without kicking them. You listen to the whispered rules about what must not be named. The drowned, the dead, the island where storms are born. The bosun tells you flatly never to whistle, unless ordered. Whistling, he says, calls the wind. You almost laugh at the thought, but the lines in his face make it clear. Laughter would be dangerous, so you bite your tongue. A few men carve tiny shapes from scrap wood and hide them in the beams. Others braid bits of hair into cord, muttering that it keeps death away from their sleep. Letters hint that sailors came from villages where charms against the evil eye were as common as bread, and they carried these charms with them to sea, layering them into the ship's own mythology. One evening, as the sun burns low and red on the horizon, the captain passes the deck. His coat is worn but neat, his hat stiff, his stride heavy with expectation. The crew falls silent as he walks by. Only when he has gone aft do voices return, hushed, speculating whether his shadow lengthened too far or not far enough. One man claims that if the captain's shadow reaches the hatch at sunset, the voyage will be long and cursed. Another snorts that shadows mean nothing, but even he keeps his gaze fixed downward, as if daring not to test the notion by looking up. You begin to notice how each man's faith is a private island, but together they make an archipelago that the whole ship sails upon. Without them there is only empty sea and endless work. With them there is at least a story for every creak, a reason for every change in wind. Accounts contradict whether such superstitions helped morale or undermined discipline. Some logs suggest captains fought them, others quietly encouraged them. On this ship they are neither forbidden nor celebrated, but they breathe in the same air as you, carried in sighs and mutters. The night watch comes and the deck glimmers under stars. You are called to coil line, and as you bend you see a scrap of red cloth tied around a pin. The knot is deliberate, almost ceremonial. You glance around, but no one admits to placing it. Still you understand it is a barrier, a ward, something to trap ill fortune. You leave it alone. When your hands pass it, you make your touch light, respectful, as though brushing the hem of a cloak you cannot see. When you return to your hammock, the men around you murmur in their sleep. One dreams aloud in Portuguese, another in a dialect that pulls its sounds from the throat. The cat lands softly between hammocks, its tail brushing your arm, and you freeze. Some would call this luck, others would say it steals warmth for itself. You breathe, heart slow, waiting for the meaning to unfold. But nothing happens, just the rise and fall of bodies around you, the creak of timber, the sea whispering against the hull, and so superstition seeps into you. You never quite decide if you believe, but you cannot help acting as if you do. You spit when others spit. You avoid whistling, you let your eyes linger on omens longer than you mean to. Belief is contagious, and aboard a ship bound for nowhere certain, you catch it like salt spray on your skin. Morning heat lifts like a damp cloth pressed against your skin. The galley fire smoulders, and the smoke threads its way through every plank, weaving itself into your clothes. The bell marks the change of watch, and you shuffle forward, stomach already gnawing with expectation. Even though you know what waits, the biscuit, the beef, the same ladle of brine-soaked peas. You swallow the thought and join the line, the mess kid clattering tin against wood. The biscuit is as hard as a plank. You smack it on the table, and the man next to you laughs. Some men soak it in water until it softens, others in ale if the ration holds. But today there is only water, tepid and faintly sour. You dunk the biscuit until bubbles rise, then bite. It tastes of salt and dust, grain ground too coarse, and the faint wriggle of life inside. You do not look too closely. The beef follows, thick with fat that floats like wax when boiled. You take your share and gnaw, jaw aching, salt pulling moisture from your tongue until it feels twice its size. Letters from voyagers hint that some captains added vinegar or citrus when available, but here there is none. Just brine, beef, biscuit. You swallow, forcing it down with water from the barrel. The cup tastes of wood and iron both. Around you the men mutter about the rations. One jokes that the ship's cat should be fattened for the pot, and the others groan at the jest, half serious, half fearful. The cook barks at them to shut their mouths. His ladle swings like a weapon. In the dark corners you hear the scratch and scamper of rats, bold enough to feed from crumbs left behind. A boy claps his hands, chasing them, but they vanish into the shadows, the smell of damp wood following them. The barrels stand lashed against the bulkhead, hoops tight, staves swollen with seawater seep. You help lift a lid, and the stench rises, wood soaked with age, a faint sourness that hints at decay. The water inside is clean enough now, but the older sailors glance at each cup as though expecting worms or slime. You swallow carefully, feeling it slide down your throat, a gift that already tastes scarce. Work follows. The bosun shouts for men at the braces. You grip the line, muscles straining, as the sails groan and belly with wind. Your palms are cross-hatched with raw welts, but you pull anyway. Beside you, a man hums low, tuneless perhaps to keep time. Another spits and mutters, better this than dead calm. His words stick with you. Better the sting of work than the silence of motionless sea. You glance up at the sails, vast bellies of canvas patched in places with scraps of old cloth. The wind hums through them, a sound like breath itself. Tar drips down a seam, sticky, pungent. You wipe your nose and taste the tang of it on the back of your throat. You think of land, of fields, of bread still warm, and the thought makes you swallow hard, as though it might bring crumbs to your mouth. Later at mess again, the talk turns to what each man would eat if he could. Someone describes a stew thick with onions and garlic, simmering for hours. Another dreams aloud of fresh fruit, juice running down his chin. The older sailor beside you chuckles, saying once he ate an orange so sweet he thought it was stolen from paradise. Records suggest citrus was known, but scarce, often hoarded for officers or sold at high price. The younger men fall quiet, eyes glazed with longing. You chew your biscuit slower, imagining sweetness that will not come. As the sun lowers, sweat slicks your shirt, salt drying in pale crusts at the seams. You stretch your back, muscles stiff. Hammocks are slung once more, the crowded space smelling of leather, damp cloth, and unwashed skin. You lie awake, stomach full yet unsatisfied, the taste of salt still on your tongue. Around you men shift, cough, groan in their sleep. The ship rocks you like a cradle, but your thoughts chase food you cannot have, water you cannot spare. Night brings the faint clatter of the galley, where the cook checks the stores again. You imagine him peering into barrels, weighing portions with eyes sharpened by scarcity. The cat slips past, tail brushing your ankle, eyes gleaming in the lantern's light. You hear the scrape of claws on wood, a squeal cut short. The cat feeds, and you feel a strange reassurance. At least one stomach aboard is full. Below deck the air grows heavy. You pass the rows of casks, each marked with chalk, water, ale, meat. The smell is rank and close, wood and brine, and something sour beneath. You hear men whisper that sometimes sailors dared to sneak extra rations from these stores, and if caught, the punishment was brutal, lashes, irons, or worse. The fear of thirst weighs heavier than fear of the whip, yet no one risks it tonight. You climb back up, lungs grateful for open air. On deck, stars pour across the sky. The watch stands silent, eyes scanning, hands idle, until the bosun snaps an order. You join them, leaning on the rail. The sea whispers against the hull, black, endless. Someone near you murmurs of his wife's bread, fresh from the oven, crust cracking under the knife. Another speaks of melons from his village, eaten by hand in the heat of summer. You listen, your mouth watering, though you've never tasted some of the foods they name. Hunger makes all things vivid, even those you've never known. Some records suggest sailors wrote of such cravings in their journals, long lists of foods imagined like prayers. You feel it yourself now. The biscuit in your hand turns to a ghost of bread, the beef into memory of roast fowl, the water into clear spring running from stone. These dreams linger even as you swallow the reality, hard and salty and endless. You close your eyes and taste salt again, bitter and thin. The memory of bread, fresh from an oven, teases you like a ghost, but when you wake again to the bell, there will be biscuit, beef, brine, and you will eat, because there is no choice. The ship carries you forward, and every swallow is another mile between you and land. The morning sky is a pale wash, the kind that stretches so wide it swallows thought. You climb from your hammock, legs stiff, and the deck greets you with the same creaks and groans, the same smell of tar, smoke, and brine. Yet something feels different today. The talk among the men is quieter, the glances sharper. You soon hear why someone whispered of the edge. A young boy, no more than 15, had asked an older hand what lay beyond the horizon. The man spat, then muttered that if the ship sailed too far, it would tumble into nothingness. His voice carried, and now the idea hangs on deck like mist. You feel it settle over your own shoulders. The sea stretches endless, yes, but who can swear what waits where the charts turn blank? The pilot works with his compass and chart, his face steady, but even his calm does not scatter the unease. You see a drawing pinned near his table, a map filled at the edges with beasts. Dragons curl their tails into the waves. Serpents coil beneath painted ships, mouths open. Records suggest cartographers often filled unknown spaces with monsters, part warning, part artistry. Not everyone believed they existed, but to men who had never sailed this far, the drawings felt more like testimony than fancy. The talk spreads. One man insists his uncle told him of a whirlpool that could suck an entire ship down, mast and all, leaving nothing but bubbles. Another swears he saw a letter describing a place where the sea boils with fire, where the very air is poison. Others scoff, but their eyes linger on the horizon more often than usual. The ship feels smaller today, surrounded by a world that grows stranger the farther it stretches. You coil rope beside a man who mutters prayers under his breath. His lips move constantly, words for saints, for his mother, for the sea itself. You want to ask him if he truly believes in the edge, but the question stalls in your throat. To speak it aloud is to give it weight, so you keep silent, letting the hiss of the line through your hands speak instead. At mess, the food is no different, but the mood is jokes are fewer. The men eat quickly, eyes darting to the portholes as if the edge might appear in mid-bite. One man grumbles that it is foolishness, that the earth is too wide for such an end. He claims learned men have said it is round, a ball floating in nothing. Another snaps that balls fall, they do not float. The argument grows sharp until the bosun silences them with a curse. Accounts contradict whether crews in these years believed firmly in the round earth, or clung to fear of the abyss. You realize belief matters less than fear, and fear needs no proof. By afternoon the sun is hot and high, and shadows cut sharp across the deck. A group gathers near the forecastle, whispering. You join the edge of the circle, listening. A scarred sailor with a voice like gravel describes a voyage he once made, when the sea ended in a white wall of mist. We turned back, he mutters, but another day we might not be so lucky. The boy who asked the question earlier stares wide-eyed, fingers clenching his spoon. An older sailor smirks, but even he does not laugh. The story is too heavy for laughter. Another man tells of floating wreckage found with no sign of crew, the timbers gnawed as if by teeth larger than any fish. Someone else claims that ships sailing too far west vanish forever, falling from the edge into the sky itself. The tales grow taller with each voice, but no one calls them lies. Instead, each man weighs them silently, eyes searching the water as if it might rise into cliffs at any moment. The pilot keeps to his charts, but you notice his fingers tapping the wood, restless. He does not believe in dragons, you tell yourself. Yet even he peers longer at the horizon today. Not everyone agreed about the maps. Some saw them as warnings, others as decoration, others as contracts with the unknown. You watch the inked coils of serpents on parchment, and wonder if a man could draw what he had never seen unless some whisper had placed it in his mind. Evening falls, and the sea turns bronze under the sinking sun. Shadows stretch across the deck, and the captain walks slowly, boots thudding. His presence stills the talk for a time. He clears his throat, voice deep, reminding the crew that the earth is vast, that God did not shape it with edges for men to tumble from. His words ring steady, but you see how his jaw clenches, the way his hand grips the rail. You wonder if he speaks as much to himself as to you. Night deepens. Stars scatter like spilled grain. On the dark surface of the sea, faint lights flicker, phosphorescence stirred by the wake. The men mutter about souls of the drowned, tiny lanterns carried in the black. You lean closer, and the glow winks, eerie and fragile. It is beautiful, yet it chills you. If the sea can light itself, perhaps it can end itself too. Sleep comes late. When it does, dreams crowd in. A cliff of water, sails torn, men screaming as the ship slides into dark. You wake with salt on your lips, not knowing if it is sweat or tears or the sea itself pressing through your dreams. The bell rings. Morning returns, the edge is still waiting, just beyond sight. The day begins with a hush, the kind of stillness that makes the hair along your arms lift. The sky is too clear, a washed-out blue that feels stretched too thin. You rise from your hammock, rubbing eyes raw from poor sleep, and step onto the deck. The air presses damp against your skin, heavy and unmoving, as if the whole sea is holding its breath. Old hands notice it first. They sniff the air, lips tight, brows furrowed. One spits over the rail and mutters, "Storm coming." His voice carries, and men around him grow restless. You look upward and see what they see. Small wisps of cloud, long and high, trailing like scratches across the heavens. Records suggest sailors read such marks like scripture, divining storms before they broke. To you they look harmless, but you feel unease ripple through the crew. The bosun barks orders. Sails are checked, lines coiled, spars tightened. You join the work, hauling with raw hands, the rope biting until your skin burns. Sweat slides down your back, though the air is cooler now, the heat fading as if sucked away. The sea shifts beneath you, the swell longer, heavier, as though something large moves below. By mid-morning the horizon bruises. A dark smudge swells where sky meets water. The men glance at it between tasks, each time their eyes sharper, warrior. The pilot studies his compass, lips pressed thin. He does not look up, but you see the tightness in his shoulders. Someone whispers that gulls have vanished. You realize it's true. No cry, no wing in sight. The absence itself is louder than noise. You eat quickly at mess, appetite dulled by tension. The biscuit crumbles dry in your mouth, and you wash it down with thin water, barely tasting it. Around you the talk is clipped. A man recounts a storm he once weathered, mast splintering, waves tall as houses. Another shakes his head, saying this one smells worse. You sniff the air and catch it. Not rot, not smoke, but something sharp, metallic, like iron struck against stone. Letters hint sailors often swore they could smell lightning before it struck. You wonder if this is that scent, warning you of fire in the sky. The captain paces, coat flapping. His orders come steady, calm though his eyes flick often toward the dark swell. Men lash barrels tighter, stow loose gear. You help secure the longboat, ropes taut as bowstrings. Your arms ache, but you keep pulling, knowing a loose boat in storm seas can crush men like flies. By afternoon, the light is wrong. The sun glows red through thickening cloud, a low circle smeared across a bruised sky. The wind freshens, cool biting. The sails snap, canvas booming, and you hear the ship groan under the strain. Men mutter prayers as they work, lips moving silently, even as their hands pull tie, haul. The cat crouches low, tail twitching, eyes wide as it slips below deck. A hush follows it, each man noting the omen. Not everyone agreed on what animals foretold, but most believed their silence meant trouble. You glance over the side, and the water itself seems darker, ridged with shadow. The swell grows uneven, chopping the bow rising higher, slamming lower. Your knees flex instinctively, muscles learning the rhythm. The bosun shouts, voice nearly lost to the rising wind. Orders fly, reef the sails, shorten canvas. You climb with the others, hands burning on wet rope, body swinging as the mast sways like a living thing. Your stomach lurches with each tilt, but you cling, tying knots that feel like lifelines. When you return to the deck, breath ragged, the first gust slams across the ship. Rain spits, stinging, carried sideways. Men shout, hauling lines, faces wet with sweat and spray. The smell of tar, pitch and salt fills your nose until you taste it. The wind wails through the rigging, high-pitched, almost like voices. Some say storms speak. You believe it now. The captain calls steady orders, his hat whipped from his head, hair plastered to his face. He grips the rail, knuckles white, and for a moment you see fear flicker in his eyes before it hardens into command again. He bellows above the wind, and the men obey, voices hoarse but firm. Night comes early, storm clouds swallowing the sun. The deck tilts hard, waves slamming over the bow, drenching you in icy water. You choke on salt, coughing, gripping the rail. Lanterns swing wildly, casting mad shadows. The ship's timbers groan like beasts. You hear the crack of wood somewhere above, a yard splintering, men scramble, voices breaking with urgency. The storm has found you. Hours blur. You pump with the others, water sloshing at your ankles. You pull rope, hands bleeding. Lightning splits the sky, white fire, turning night to day. Thunder follows, shaking your bones. You glimpse faces in the flash, eyes wide, mouths open, teeth bared in terror or prayer. Some shout for saints, some for mothers, some only curse. Rain lashes, heavy as fists. The sea rises, mountains of black water capped with white foam. The ship climbs, shudders, falls. Your knees slam, bruises blooming. You cling, breath ragged, throat raw. Someone is swept across the deck, vanishing with a scream. The sound cuts sharp, then is swallowed. A shudder passes through the crew, but no one stops. Work keeps you alive. Stopping does not. In rare pauses between waves, you hear men mutter of signs. One swears he saw blue light crackle at the masthead. Another insists he heard voices in the wind. The bosun snarls at them to keep hauling, but you catch his eyes, and even he looks uneasy. Records suggest men argued fiercely whether strange lights in storms meant salvation or doom. You do not know what you believe, only that the sight chills you more than the cold. The storm does not end. It deepens, your muscles quiver, breath ragged, skin stinging with salt and rain. The world shrinks to rope in your hands, the deck beneath your boots, the heave of sea. Nothing else exists. You are raw wool wrapped in flesh, and the storm tests that will with every wave. When dawn creeps grey behind ragged cloud, the storm still snarls, but its teeth are duller. The waves lower, the wind eases, men slump where they stand, soaked, shivering, too tired for words. The deck is littered with splinters, broken rope, bruised bodies. Some hammocks will stay empty tonight. You taste blood on your lip, salt on your tongue, fear in your throat. The storm has passed, but the memory clings like wet cloth, heavy, impossible to shed. The sea is restless still, a long rolling heave that sets every rope to groaning. The storm has left its scent behind, wet hemp, charred pitch, salt crusted into skin and fabric. You stand among men whose faces are hollow with exhaustion, eyes rimmed red from rain and fear. The ship carries scars now, splintered spars, sails torn and patched in haste. Yet it floats, and that is miracle enough. But even as hands work to mend the damage, another current moves below the surface of talk. Whispers coil around the deck like smoke, fire seen in the night, blue and ghostly. You did not see it yourself, though lightning blinded and rain drowned your vision. Others claim they did. Some swear pale flames flickered on the mastheads, clinging like lanterns. One man insists he saw sparks at the tips of the yardarms, hissing without sound. The crew listens with rapt unease, caught between fear and awe. You hear it first from the carpenter, his voice rasping with sleeplessness. Elmo's fire, he mutters, rubbing pitch from his hands. Blessed sign it is, means the saints watching. His words draw a few nods, sighs of relief. But the boatswain cuts him off sharply. Fool's fire, it means the storm isn't done. You'd better pray harder. And so the crew divides between those who call it salvation and those who call it doom. At mess, the talk grows louder. Men gnaw at biscuit edges, chew leathery beef, sip their ladles of water as though every swallow might be their last. And as they eat, they argue. One slams his fist against the table, declaring the fire is a miracle, a sign of protection. Another spits on the deck, swearing it's a death flame, the souls of drowned sailors reaching for company. Accounts contradict. Some logs celebrate St. Elmo's fire as reassurance. Others describe it with dread. You feel the truth lies in neither, but you cannot say so. You sit silent, listening, as belief twists the air. A boy near you asks timidly if the flames burn. Laughter follows, but thin and nervous. Someone says no, they are cold as fog. Another claims they sting if touched, searing like metal. No one admits to having touched them. Eyes glance upward at the rigging, as though expecting the flames to return with the next cloud. Later on deck, the sun presses hot again, as though mocking the storm. Yet talk of the fire does not fade. You coil line beside a sailor, who swears his cousin once saw the lights dance along the deck like will-o'-the-wisps, chasing men to the rail. You want to ask if he believes his own words, but you see the fear twitch at the corner of his mouth, and you know the answer. By dusk the sea is calm, too calm, as though saving breath for another blow. The crew mutters that storms travel in pairs. You help mend torn canvas, the needle pulling rough cloth together. Each stitch is steady, but your thoughts wander. If flames truly clung to the mast last night, why did you not see them? Perhaps fear blinded you, or perhaps you chose not to see. As lanterns are lit, the bosun passes with narrowed eyes. He growls at the talk of fire, orders silence, tells men to keep their tongues behind their teeth. Yet even he cannot stop glances at the mastheads, at the high yardarms where the dark gathers thick. You tilt your head back and feel the weight of the sky pressing low. It is only darkness now, but your skin prickles as if expecting light. Below deck, hammocks sway and voices hum low. A man carves a cross into the beam above him, muttering that the saint will guard him if the fire returns. Another scoffs, but his hands shake as he ties a charm to his hammock rope. You curl into canvas that smells of salt and sweat, and hear the creak of the hull like distant thunder. Sleep stutters. You dream of flames that flicker without heat, licking along wood without burning. They curl around your hands, blue and cold, and when you wake your fingers tingle, as though they have held lightning. You swallow hard, throat dry, and tell yourself it is only the rocking of the ship, but the image clings. In the grey hour before dawn, you rise to relieve the watch. The deck is slick with dew, the ropes damp and dark. A sailor leans at the rail, whispering to the sea as if coaxing it calm. His eyes are wide when he turns to you. "I saw it," he says hoarsely. "On the bowsprit, like a torch, blue as a blade." You want to ask if anyone else saw, but he shakes his head, muttering, "It vanished when I called." You look forward, to where the horizon bleeds faint light. There is no fire now, only mist, the swell rolling soft, yet the words crawl into you. If the fire returns, what will it mean? Protection? Doom? Or only another trick of weather? Indifferent to belief, the bell rings, hollow and steady, but it does not scatter the whispers. As the sun climbs, men eye the sky with suspicion. Even laughter, when it comes, is sharp, brittle, breaking quickly into silence. The memory of storms still weighs heavy, but heavier still is the thought of flames that glow where no fire should. You swallow your ration of water, thin and bitter, and feel your throat ache. Blue fire, or empty barrels, the choice between them seems thin, both promising fear, both promising stories that will outlive the voyage. You keep silent, but inside you carry the question like a stone in your pocket, heavy, smooth, impossible to set down. The air thickens until it feels like cloth pressed over your mouth. By noon the horizon is no longer a line but a bruise that grows, dark and uneven, rising higher each hour. The ship moves with nervous energy, every rope quivering as if sensing what approaches. You taste the change in the wind, damp, metallic, a sharpness on the tongue. Old sailors mutter that storms smell before they show. You believe them now. Orders ring across the deck. The bosun's whistle shrieks, sharp as a knife. Men scramble to reef sail, hauling canvas heavy with wetness that is not yet rain but soon will be. You climb into the rigging, rope slick under your palms, body swaying as the mast lurches. The sky deepens to a greenish-grey, cloud banks stacked like fortress walls. Your chest tightens as you knot the lines, the sea rolling vast beneath your dangling feet. Below, barrels are lashed tighter, the longboat secured with doubled ropes. The carpenter hammers nails into loose planks, each blow swallowed by the rising wind. The cat vanishes into the hold. A hush follows its departure. Another omen. Men glance at one another, then work faster, hands flying as though labour itself can bargain with the storm. By late afternoon, the first gust slams across the deck. Canvas booms, timbers creak, and the ship heels hard, throwing you against the rail. Salt spray lashes your face, stinging your eyes. The wind carries voices, high and wailing, as though the rigging itself screams. Lanterns are extinguished before they can shatter. The captain's voice cuts through the roar, steady, commanding, though his hat is torn away and vanishes into the dark. Then the rain comes. It does not fall, it hammers, sideways, fists of water striking skin and wood alike. the world vanishes into grey. You cannot see bow from stern. The sea heaves beneath you, waves swelling tall, black ridges capped with white. The ship climbs one, shudders, then plunges down, the deck tilting until your knees buckle. Water slams over the bow, rushing across planks, sweeping buckets, ropes, even a man's cap into the hungry dark. You join the others at the pumps, arms burning, shoulders screaming as you heave the handles up and down. Water pours in faster than it leaves, but you keep at it, breath rasping, throat raw from salt. Beside you, a sailor mutters prayers between gasps, another curses with each push. Both sound the same in the storm's mouth. Lightning splits the sky. For a heartbeat the world is white, sails glowing, faces stark with terror, waves frozen mid-leap. Then thunder cracks, a deep shudder through bone and timber alike. You swallow fear that tastes like iron. A spar breaks overhead with a splintering scream. Men shout, scramble, lash it down before it kills someone. You pull rope until your palms bleed, blisters torn open, skin raw, the pain is sharp, grounding, better pain than panic. The hours blur. Storm time is not clock time, it is measured in waves survived, ropes hauled, breath stolen between gusts. You work until muscles quiver, until your vision blurs, until you no longer know if the salt on your lips is spray or blood. Amid the chaos you hear someone cry out, "Fire!" and your heart seizes. You look up expecting smoke, but what you glimpse is stranger, a pale flicker at the masthead, blue against the storm. It vanishes in the next flash of lightning. Men scream prayers, crossing themselves, voices breaking. Others shout that it is doom. The bosun bellows for silence, but fear clings thicker than rain. You force your eyes down, gripping rope, but the image burns in your mind. Light where none should be, cold flame against black sky. The captain strides across the deck, water streaming from his coat. He grips the rail and bellows for order. His voice is raw but unbroken. He calls for faith, for courage, for labor. You see him stagger once as the ship lurches, but his hand steadies him. Authority is fragile as canvas in this wind, yet he clings to it, and you cling to him. A wave taller than the rest crashes across the bow, sweeping men from their feet. You slam against a bulkhead, breath driven out, water closing over your head. You kick, thrash, find air again, coughing brine from your lungs. A sailor near you is not so lucky. He vanishes with a cry, swallowed whole. The crew howls, but there is no time to mourn. The storm allows no pause. Night deepens, though the day never truly ended. Lanterns are gone. Only lightning gives you vision, harsh and brief. Each flash carves fear onto faces, eyes wide, mouths open. You glimpse the mast swaying, sails shredded, ropes whipping like serpents. You glimpse the sea itself, walls of black water rearing higher than reason. Hours grind by. Your body is no longer yours. It is rope, pump, bruise, salt. You are action without thought, survival without memory. You do not know if you will see morning. And then slowly, the roar softens, the rain slackens to a downpour, then to a steady sheet. The waves, though still tall, lose some of their fury. The wind eases, no longer shrieking but growling low. You sag against the rail, trembling chest heaving, clothes heavy with seawater. Around you men collapse where they stand, too spent to speak. The storm has not ended, but it has passed its peak. You live though others do not. Hammocks will hang empty tonight, names unspoken. You taste grief, mingled with relief, both bitter, both salt. As dawn bleeds into the grey sky, you look up. The mast still stands, though scarred. The ship still floats, though battered. And though the light of day pushes shadows away, you cannot shake the memory of the blue flicker that crowned the mast in the darkest hour. Fire that was not fire, light that was not fire, light that was not light. A sign perhaps of something watching. The storm leaves the ship ragged but afloat. The sails hang torn, patched with canvas scraps in uneven colours, like scars stitched into skin. Ropes drip water, swollen and heavy. The men move more slowly now, every limb weighted with fatigue. Some carry bruises, others bandaged cuts, and more than a few hammocks hang empty in the dark below deck. Yet what lingers most is not the broken timber or the missing men. It is the memory of blue fire. The whispers begin before the clouds even part, at first low, tentative, as though speaking it might summon it again. Then bolder, louder, stories blooming like weeds. You hear them as you coil rope. A sailor insists the fire was Saint Elmo himself, guardian of sailors, his spirit burning above the mast to keep the ship from ruin. He says the storm broke because the saint took pity. Another spits at his feet, calling it corpse light, a death flame that means the sea is hungry still. A third interrupts, swearing the fire was only lightning's trick, nothing more. His voice falters though, and no one meets his eye. At mess the debate grows sharper. Men jab with biscuit crusts as they argue. One boasts he touched the light once, years ago, on another voyage, and it burned cold as snow. A younger hand calls him liar, claiming the fire would have seared his flesh to bone. The cook bangs his ladle on the pot, shouting for silence, but even he looks uneasy as he stirs. Letters from voyages note these disputes often lasted weeks after storms, each sailor certain his version true. You see that truth matters less than the fear clinging like damp wool. The bosun tries to crush the talk. He curses men for cowards, says only fools believe in ghostly flames, but even he avoids the masthead with his gaze. Discipline phrase when belief runs stronger than rope. You sense it, the way orders are obeyed more slowly, the way mutters do not stop when officers pass. The storm tested the ship, now superstition tests its spine. At night in the swinging hammocks, men murmur tales half in dream. You listen. One whispers of sailors who followed the blue light into madness, climbing rigging until they fell into the sea. Another tells of fire that leapt from mast to mast, chasing men below deck. Contradictory stories, all told with the certainty of memory. You close your eyes and feel the ship sway, the air close and damp, the murmurs pressing at your ears until you almost believe them. The next morning brings calm seas, but the mood does not ease. You fetch water from the barrel, and notice men eyeing it as though expecting sparks to leap from its surface. One dips a finger and shudders theatrically, earning nervous laughter. Another slaps his hand away, furious. Fear makes tempers short. A quarrel breaks out near the galley. Two sailors argue whether the fire saved or cursed the ship. Voices rise, fists clench, and for a moment it seems they will fight. The captain himself appears, face grim, and commands silence. He tells them the fire is nothing but the breath of storm and sea, a trick of God's own weather. His words are firm, but his eyes slide to the mast. You notice, so do the men. Authority cracks when even the captain doubts. Later you help repair rigging, fingers numb from twisting tarred rope. Beside you, an older hand hums a tune, low and eerie. You ask its meaning, and he tells you it is a charm, sung in his village to keep lightning away. You nod, not mocking. On this ship, disbelief is lonely. By afternoon the debate shifts. No longer only about the fire. Now men speak of who might have angered the sea, who brought ill luck. They search for culprits among themselves. One mutters about the boy who whistled last week, calling the wind. Another points at a sailor who mocked a charm, saying he drew divine wrath. Accusations creep like rot. You watch men avoid each other, eyes narrowed, shoulders stiff. The sea is wide, but the ship is small, and suspicion makes it smaller still. Below deck that night, charms multiply. You see crosses carved deeper into beams, small coins wedged into cracks, bits of cloth tied to hammock ropes. Men whisper over them, fingers trembling. The cat prowls, eyes glowing, and every step it takes is noted as omen. It pauses at your hammock, tail flicking, and you feel a dozen eyes on you. When it moves on, relief ripples through the dark. You close your eyes, knowing the cat's choice has saved you from being named unlucky. Dreams come heavy. You see the blue fire again, crawling down the mast toward you. You reach out, and it slides over your skin without heat, without pain. But when you wake your hands still tingle. Sweat soaks your shirt, though the air is cool. You lie listening to men muttering in their sleep, their fears spilling into words even unconscious. Morning brings chores, scrubbing deck, mending sail, hauling rope, yet beneath every action lies the whisper. The fire is not gone, it waits. Perhaps tonight, perhaps the next storm. Each glance at the mast is sharper, longer. The sea glitters wide and calm. But calm means nothing now. Calm is only the pause before the flame returns. Not everyone agreed about what sailors feared most. Some claimed thirst, others storms, others hunger. But here in these days after the tempest, you know what fear weighs heaviest. Not hunger, not thirst, not even drowning. It is the thought of fire that glows cold, a light that belongs to no lantern, no sun, no star. A light that men argue over until discipline frays, until tempers snap, until silence feels safer than truth. You drink your ration of water, bitter and thin, and stare at the mast. The wood stands scarred but upright, patched with rope and tar. You wait half dreading, half hoping, to see it glow again. The sea lies glassy in the morning, a slow heave under the ship, the colour of pewter polished too thin. At first it feels like a gift. No storm, no roaring wind, no sudden tilt that throws you into rail or rope. The ship drifts, sails slack, canvas hanging limp as wet laundry. The crew moves slower too, shoulders sagging with weariness. For a moment you think the ocean has granted peace. Then thirst begins its whisper. The first sign comes when the bosun orders the water ration halved. His voice is clipped, cold, as though he can will obedience into parched throats. Men mutter, but none disobey. The boy hands out cups one by one, dipping carefully into the barrels. The liquid sloshes dull, no sparkle, no freshness, just wood and faint sour. You lift the ladle and sip. It tastes of damp timber, of rusting nails, of mould clinging to the edges. It slides thick over your tongue, leaving thirst instead of quenching it. You remember the first days of the voyage, when the water was clear, cool, with a faint sweetness that reminded you of streams at home. Now weeks of heat and rocking have soured it. Records suggest sailors often found worms wriggling in their casks, hatched from eggs unseen. You stare into your cup, half expecting to see them. Some men do. They swallow anyway. Around you the grumbling grows louder. One sailor spits and swears his cup stinks of rot. Another gulps greedily, then coughs, water running down his chin. The cook shrugs, muttering, "Better foul than none." His words do not comfort. As the day lengthens, thirst gnaws sharper. Salt clings to your lips, cracked and bleeding. Every breath tastes dry. You lick sweat from your upper lip without thinking. Men glance at one another's cups, eyes narrow, hands tight. You sense it. Hunger divides slowly, but thirst divides fast. By afternoon, whispers circle. Some say barrels were tampered with, lids lifted too often, letting in heat. Others accuse the cooper of failing to seal them right. The cooper defends himself, shouting that the barrels were sound at port, that the fault lies with the voyage itself. Suspicion swells, heavy as the still air. The captain orders the barrels inspected. You watch as the lids are pried open. The stench rushes up, sour, foul, enough to make stomachs turn. Floating scum greets the eyes, threads of green drifting atop the liquid. One man swears he sees worms writhing. Another insists it is only shadows. Accounts contradict. Some journals claim men drank through cloth to strain wrigglers, others that they ignored them altogether. Here the truth is worse. They are real. Rations shrink further. The bosun declares each man will have only a ladle, each watch. The news breaks the crew's thin calm. Shouts rise, curses sharp, fists slammed on planks. The bosun lashes out with his whip, snapping leather against wood, snarling that disobedience means thirst and lash both. Men fall silent, but the silence is brittle. That night, sleep is shallow. Hammocks creak under restless bodies. Mouths click dry in the dark. You hear men swallow nothing, their throats rasping. A sailor in the corner sobs softly. Someone hisses at him to be quiet. The cat prowls, its eyes catching lantern glow, and men follow its path with envy. An animal that drinks when it likes, that finds water in its prey. Dreams come parched. You imagine fountains, rivers, fruit dripping juice. You wake with your tongue swollen, your mouth gummy, even the smell of bilge water tempts. You roll in your hammock, shaking your head, ashamed. But the thought lingers, what if you drank it, just once? The next morning the barrels are opened again. The stench is worse. You pinch your nose, sip anyway. The taste is rotten wood, metal, something slimy. Your stomach revolts, but you force it down, better sick than empty. Others gag openly, spitting the liquid back. One refuses his cup altogether, whispering that death by thirst is cleaner. His eyes already look hollow. By midday men watch the sky, as though begging for rain. A few claim to see signs, dark smudges far off, clouds building. Others shake their heads. You feel the air heavy, unmoving. No breeze, no hope. Only heat pressing, sweat drying fast, leaving salt crusts on your shirt. At mess the talk is harsh. One sailor insists the captain hides fresh barrels in his cabin. Another snarls that officers always drink better, but the crew will rot while the quarterdeck feasts. The carpenter slams his cup, growling that mutiny brings no water either. But his words do little. The air is thick with resentment. Below deck, whispers grow bolder. Men talk of breaking into stores, of finding hidden casks. Someone mentions catching rain in sails, if clouds ever come. Another suggests drinking blood from slaughtered animals, but there are none left. You lie listening, stomach hollow, throat aching, wondering how far men will go when thirst presses harder. Toward evening, a man is caught dipping into the barrel outside his turn. The bosun drags him up, face twisted with fury. Before the crew he lashes him, leather snapping wet against flesh. The man screams, then falls silent, face pressed to deck, back striped. No one speaks. The only sound is the ship's groan, and the man's ragged breath. You look away, throat tight, knowing thirst will drive others to try again. Night falls, the stars shimmer cruelly bright. You lie in your hammock, mouth so dry you cannot swallow. Men shift restlessly, some moaning, some silent. You dream again of rivers, of wells of rain pouring down. When you wake your lips bleed, where you bit them. The bell rings, another day begins. Another cup of foul water waits. You lift it with shaking hands and sip, each drop a battle. You swallow but thirst remains, sharper than hunger, sharper than fear. The barrels grow lighter, soon they will be empty. And then, you glance at the sky, searching for clouds, for any promise. Only endless blue meets your eye. You lick your cracked lips and know thirst is the sea's cruelest weapon. The sea keeps its glassy breath, and calm becomes a kind of trap. Sails hang without purpose, canvas slack as folded wings. Thirst sits on every tongue. You stand at the rail, eyes half closed against light that seems to glare without warmth. When the lookout's call cuts the stillness, two thin words that tighten every spine. Sail, hull. You squint into the haze. At first it's only a darker stitch on the horizon, then two, then several, low and lean, riding the calm like skaters on polished stone. No wind ruffles their flags, yet they move. Oars, you realize, long, coordinated strokes. A murmur goes through the crew, not loud, not panicked, but edged. The word corsairs breathes from lip to lip, as if it might carry less danger whispered than shouted. Orders ripple aft. The captain's face is set, all angles and iron. Drums are not common on your ship, but the bosun's whistle becomes a drum of air, shrill and steady, calling stations. Powder is brought up, careful as carrying sleeping fire. You smell it, the dry pepper of saltpeter, the sulphur tang that sticks at the back of the nose. Men fetch pikes and bills from a rack near the mainmast. Others check match cords, glowing worms of fibre that need tending even when fear makes hands shake. A mainstream fact comes back to you. Ships like yours favor swivel guns, small pieces on the rail, quick to turn spatters of iron at close range. Broadsides belong to heavier ages. Here fight is handspan work. The calm offers no help. Their oars bite and rise, steady, businesslike. You watch water drip from blades like glass beads. A pennant lifts on the nearest prow, red as raw clay. Not everyone agrees what colors these hunters flew this far west. Some logs show plain cloth, others bright boasts, but color matters less than angle and speed. They are coming. Sand is thrown across the deck, a thin, gritty carpet under bare soles. You've been told it prevents slips when blood or oil makes the planks treacherous. Now you are grateful simply for the rasp of traction beneath your feet. The carpenter bangs iron brackets into place for the swivels. A boy brings nails and scrap lead in a bucket. Hail shot, quick to load when shot runs short. Quirky as it seems, he adds pebbles from a pocket, tucked there for luck weeks ago. Luck today learns a harder use. The captain calls parley with a speaking trumpet, a brass mouth that turns his breath big. His words carry have to. State your business. The answer comes as a laugh carried on all rhythm. No wind, no words needed. Oars talk for them. Closer now. Dark faces under cloth caps. Rows of oars that rise and fall like ribs breathing. You taste metal and old water. Someone beside you murmurs that corsairs sometimes promise quarter and sometimes do not. Records suggest letters disagree, some praising clemency, others mourning chains and silence. Your throat tightens around the uncertain space between hope and prudence. Ready. The bosun's voice is low, shaped for the men alone. Linstocks touch powder, match chords glow. You brace. The first swivel barks, a sudden cough that leaps along the rail. Iron whistles outward, pattering like hard rain on hull and oar. A cry answers. The second gun speaks, and the third, and smoke folds over you in a bitter shawl. You cough, eyes stinging. The windless day holds smoke like a miser. You fight blind, they close anyway. Hooks arc from their bows, grapnels with hungry teeth, clattering against your rail. Lines follow. Men haul. Your ship lurches nearer to theirs, wood knocking wood in a hollow, unfriendly kiss. You thrust with a pike, feel it jar as it meets something not wood, not air. You pull back, arms buzzing. A man to your left fires an arquebus. The match hisses, the pan flashes, the butt thumps his shoulder. He grins without joy. Another gun snaps, wet powder sulking. He curses and fumbles for a coal to coax the match alive again. Shouts tangle languages. You do not understand the words, but fear is fluent. A figure in a bright sash leaps for the rail, and misses, vanishing with a splash that leaves only a widening stain of bubbles. Another grabs a hanging line and swings aboard, knife between teeth, only to meet a billhook that turns his leap into a stumble. Men lock, push, strain. It is not swordplay so much as shoving the sea away with bodies. The captain moves like a hinge, swinging where the borders press strongest. He does not shout now. Shouting is wasted air. He points. He drives with his presence, his eyes saying what his mouth cannot. You anchor to that steadiness as to a post in flood, a log you once read, or maybe only heard about, whispered that some captains waved false flags until the last breath, buying heartbeats before teeth showed. Letters hint others held colours plainly, preferring forthright peril to deception. Whether the pennant that lured you here was honest or bait will be debated later, if later exists. A cry from aloft, your top men drop a coiled line onto the enemy's prow, jerk, and foul their forward oars. The rhythm breaks, the long creature of the galley stumbles. You feel a pulse of savage relief. You push in the moment. The crew across is thrown off its beat, your pike low, your feet set in friendly sand. A man grabs your shaft. You twist, slam the butt to his wrist. He hisses. You think of water, clear water, and press forward as if thirst could be answered by courage. Smoke thins. The nearest galley wavers in the muddle of lines. Someone on your side swings a swivel gun by brute force and fires point blank into the oars. Wood explodes, splinters singing the air. The galley yaws. men crying out as oars stutter useless. Another craft hangs back, oars idle for a heartbeat, as if reconsidering the price of a thirsty ship that still bites. Then the drums, real drums thudding from the second galley. The beat changes, oars pick up a new cadence. The boat surges, choosing the stern where your rails are lowest. The captain sees it, and points, and you run there with others, lungs burning, legs rubber. You pass the pump and think of Section 8 without naming it. The way water roared over your boots, now it is absence that roars, but your arms remember how to work. They come again. Hooks fly, 2 bite deep. A boarder scrambles up in a jerking, awkward dance as your ship and his disagree about motion. He lands, slips on sand that saves you and betrays him, and your mate brings the flat of a blade across his knuckles. The knife drops. It skitters to your foot. You send it over the side with a heel. A hand catches your sleeve and yanks. You turn and see a face as young as the boy who asked about the edge. Fear is a mirror. You look away from your own. A final roar. One more swivel discharges with a belch, and the second galley checks like a horse at a sudden ditch. The grapnels fall slack, lines hacked, oars backwater in confusion. The 2 attacking boats draw off to reassess, men cursing in voices hoarse with exertion. Smoke fades in sheets. Your ship breathes again, a long shudder alone with its thirst. They do not press a third time. Perhaps it is your claws, perhaps it is the calm, perhaps their pilot glimpses a darker smear on the horizon that promises wind, and wind favors canvas more than oar. Accounts contradict. Some journals claim corsairs loved calm best, others that they prized surprise in squalls. Today they point their bows elsewhere, oars lifting like a shrug. Silence returns, except for the soft percussion of your pulse in your ears. The bog soon lets out air through his teeth. The captain leans on the rail, and permits himself one breath that looks like prayer. You stand in sand that is mostly clean, surprised by the absence of what you feared to see. Your hands shake, then still. The cat appears, delicate, stepping between loops of rope as if nothing in the world could hurry it. The crew laughs too high, too quick, then swallows the sound, as if paid for a luxury it cannot afford. Men begin to clear grapnels, to unlash bent iron, to sweep sand that did its work. Powder is returned to its chest, matches pinched out with care, pikes racked, bills oiled. Someone hands you a dipper. The water is warm and sour. You drink anyway, because victory does not sweeten casks. The horizon is empty again. Calm glitters. Your throat aches with praise and fear you cannot speak. You are glad to be alive, and you are ashamed of being glad. And you are tired beyond any word you know. The question returns, cool as shade. If the blue fire comes back, will it bless or burn? If the barrels fail, will courage help your tongue? You find no answer in the bright, merciless day, only in the rough comfort of sand underfoot, and the steady beat of oars growing faint behind you. The ship breathes again in uneasy silence. The galleys have gone, their oars a fading rhythm against the horizon, but their memory lingers like smoke in the rigging. Men move slowly, their shoulders heavy, voices clipped. The bosun snarls at slack hands, yet even he cannot drive the tension away. The storm bruised the ship, thirst gnaws still, and now the brush with corsairs has frayed what little rope of courage remained. You return to work, hauling, mending, knotting, but every glance drifts upward, not toward clouds, not toward stars, toward the mastheads, where whispers say the fire will come again. Some men spit for luck when they pass the mainmast. Others tap the wood with 2 fingers. A charm is nailed discreetly near the base, a scrap of cloth tied in a knot. None dare remove it. By mess, the talk grows. Men argue over what saved them from the corsairs, the guns, the captain's orders, or the blue flame that crowned the mast in the storm. One insists the fire frightened their enemies, made them hesitate. Another spits, saying it is curse fire, certain that the next storm will claim them. The cook mutters that fools should mind their food, not the sky, but even he adds a pinch of salt into the pot 3 times before serving, as though seasoning could bribe fate. The captain, weary but iron-voiced, calls the men aft. He tells them no fire saved them, no curse threatens them. It is only weather, he says, only wind and lightning. His eyes stay steady, but you notice how his hand grips the rail, knuckles white. Some nod, some scowl, most watch in silence, thoughts hidden. Authority holds but thinner now. Not everyone agreed in the journals you remember. Some captains stamped out superstition, others let it live as ballast. Here the balance teeters. As dusk thickens, clouds gather again, low and sullen. The air feels charged, every hair along your arms prickling. You haul line with others, the rope rough and wet against your palms. A low hum trembles through the rigging, faint but real. Men notice. They fall quiet, eyes rise to the mastheads. It begins as a glow, pale, trembling, almost imagined, then brighter, sharper. Blue tongues lick the tips of the yardarms, flicker along the mast like candles that refuse to die. Gasps ripple across the deck. Some fall to their knees, crossing themselves, murmuring prayers. Others back away, eyes wide, as though the flames might leap down and claim them. You stand frozen, throat tight, heart thudding. The fire does not burn. It clings like dew, shimmering, hissing softly, though no sound should come. It glows in the rain-slick dark, haloing wood and rope, dripping light that leaves no trace. Beautiful, terrible. You cannot look away. A sailor near you whispers, voice cracked, "Saint Elmo guards us." His hands tremble as he reaches upward, as if to touch. Another slaps his arm down, snarling, "Death's lantern. Touch it and drown." Their words clash, but their faces are the same. Fear. The bosun bellows for men to their tasks, but his voice falters. He does not look at the glow. He looks anywhere else, shouting orders at shadows. The captain strides forward, face hard, jaw set. "Back to work," he roars. It is nothing but air and storm. He forces calm into his tone, but the fire glints in his eyes, reflected, undeniable. Work resumes, halting, slow. Men fumble knots, trip on lines, glance upward again and again. Some refuse to climb, shaking their heads, muttering about omens. The captain threatens lashings, but his words slide off, men too frightened to obey. You keep hauling, breath ragged, the glow searing itself into memory. It seems brighter now, dancing along the bowsprit, lighting droplets of rain, like beads of sapphire. For a moment you believe it might be blessing. Then a crack of thunder shakes the deck, and lightning forks across the sky. The glow flares, bright as stars, then fades to a dim shimmer. Men cry out, some in awe, some in terror. The night stretches long. The fire flickers, wanes, returns, restless as the sea itself. Some pray aloud, voices rising in chant. Others curl in corners, refusing to look. A few stare upward, entranced as though hypnotized. You wonder which you are. You wonder what the fire truly means. Records suggest, even scholars argued. Some called it saintly sign, others only weather's trick. Letters hint men both loved and feared it, clinging to it when thirst and storms gave no hope. You feel both truths pressing inside you, heavy as ballast. Toward dawn, the glow dwindles. The first light of day pushes it back, pale blue yielding to grey sky. Men slump, hollow-eyed, too tired for words. The deck stinks of fear sweat, wet rope, and smoke from gutted lanterns. You taste salt on your lips, not from spray, but from yourself. The captain stands aft, face unreadable. He says nothing, neither do you. No one does, only the creak of rigging, and the sigh of weary wood speak now. But every man carries the image, blue and cold, burning without heat. Every man knows the fire may come again. You step back to your hammock, body trembling, mind restless. You close your eyes and see it still, fingers of light caressing mast and sail, flame that neither warms nor burns, a light that comforts and terrifies in equal measure. You swallow, throat aching with thirst, and wonder if water or fire will claim you first. The deck is quiet in the pale light of morning. But it is not a peaceful quiet. It is brittle, taut, as if the ship itself holds its breath. The storm is behind you, the corsairs gone, the barrels sour, and the fire has come and gone again, leaving men hollow-eyed. Now, more than ever, all eyes drift to the quarterdeck, to the man who carries the ship's weight more than oak or rope ever could. The captain. He walks with his shoulders back, his stride deliberate. His coat hangs heavy with damp, the edges frayed, his hat is gone, stolen by the gale nights before, and his hair clings stubbornly to his temples. Yet he walks as if nothing can bend him, as if his boots strike stone rather than trembling timber. You sense the effort in every step. Authority is not inborn. It is built, held, defended with every glance, every order. Men follow his eyes, waiting for him to falter. If he does, their fear will swell like a tide. If he does not, perhaps they will still believe this voyage holds shape and purpose. Records suggest crews lived as much on discipline as on food and water. One slip could sink both. You see that truth in every look, every held breath. He calls the crew together. The bosun's whistle shrills, and men shuffle to stand, leaning on rails and spars, their faces drawn. The captain clears his throat. His voice is hoarse but steady. He speaks of the storm, of survival, of courage shown. He speaks of the corsairs, driven back by valor and skill. He speaks of the fire, not saint, not curse, but weather. Light on the mast is no more than lightning's child. He says, do not let it master you. His words are measured, crafted like knots. But you see the doubt ripple. One man shifts, muttering. Another stares hard at the deck, refusing to meet the captain's eye. Some nod, eager for reassurance. Others fold their arms, lips pressed thin. The speech holds them for now, but barely. Belief cannot be commanded, it must be carried, and their arms are tired. When the gathering breaks, the captain retreats aft. You are ordered to help mend sail near his station. Close enough to watch him, close enough to hear the sigh he releases when he thinks no one listens. His hand rubs his brow, rough, weary. For a moment he looks old, older than his years, bent not by storm, but by command. Then he straightens, jaw set, and his mask returns. You climb into the rigging, patching canvas, and watch him below. A sailor approaches, daring to complain of water ration. The captain listens, silent, then cuts him off with a sharp gesture. You will drink what is given, he says. You will work or you will lie in irons. The sailor slinks back, face dark. The captain watches him go, then rests both hands on the rail, gripping as though the wood alone keeps him upright. Not everyone agreed about how captains ruled. Some logs praise gentle command, others fear hard rule. You sense this man teeters between. Too soft and order will vanish, too hard and mutiny will fester. It is a narrow plank to walk, and the sea waits below. At mess whispers grow. Men grumble about ration, about endless work, about omens. A few mutter that the captain hides casks in his cabin, keeping the best for himself. Others say he prays to strange saints, that the fire answers his bargain. Lies or not, they spread, quick as rats. The bosun stamps them down with curses, but suspicion gnaws harder than hunger. That night you hear the captain pacing. His boots strike above your hammock, steady at first, then halting, then steady again. You close your eyes, listening. Each step feels like a thought too heavy to carry still. Letters from old voyages hint at this too. Captains walking decks alone, arguing with silence, choosing between fear and iron, between lash and word. You hear him stop. The quiet that follows is heavier than his steps. The next day work drags. Men slacken, slower to obey. The bosun lashes one for sloth. The crack of whip rings sharp, and you see the captain watching from aft. His eyes do not soften, but they do not shine with triumph either. He turns away as though the sight corrodes him. Discipline demands stripes, but the man beneath the coat feels each lash as his own. You wonder how many burdens one spine can bear before it cracks. A quarrel breaks out midship. Two sailors snarling, fists raised over some spilled ration. The crew circles, hungry for release, for blood or laughter. The captain descends himself, voice booming, breaking them apart. He strikes one, cuffs the other, drags them both before the mast. He demands apology, then silence. He looks to the rest. This ship holds enough enemies in sea and sky. I will not suffer more within her ribs. His gaze pins you all like nails. For a moment you believe him, and so does the crew. The quarrel dies, order survives another day. But in hammocks that night, whispers return. He fears the fire, he drinks our share. He prays alone. You lie listening, knowing half are lies, half truth, and the difference matters less than the telling. A leader cannot lash silence into belief. He must stand taller than storm or thirst. And though he tries, though he wears the coat of command like armor, you have seen the man beneath weary, doubting, afraid. Morning dawns, pale and cold. The captain stands aft again, coat tight, hair damp with spray. He looks not at the crew, not at the sea, but at the horizon, where faint gulls wheel, and the sky softens to green, land perhaps. All promise of it. His jaw tightens. He knows he must keep the men alive, until then body and spirit both. His burden is not the ship's weight, nor the voyage's length. It is belief. He carries it alone, because no one else can. You swallow bitter water, your throat raw, and glance at him once more. You wonder what it feels like to hold so many lives by sheer force of will. You wonder how long any man can endure. The morning breaks with a different kind of sound. Not the creak of timbers, nor the endless hiss of rope on wood, but a cry from the foremast, a single word flung down like a stone into still water. Birds. You glance up, squinting. At first you see only grey sky, haze trembling above the horizon. Then, yes, a flicker of white wings darting and wheeling. Too small for gulls. No, gulls indeed, but different, land gulls. Their wings sharper, their flight more certain. They circle, vanish, return. The deck stirs like a body waking. Men jostle, whisper, point. Laughter erupts, brittle but real. Birds mean land. Birds mean water not fouled by wood and worms. Birds mean the end of thirst. The captain's voice rings steady. Back to work. We'll find shore soon enough. But even he cannot stop the sideways grins, the quicker steps, the humming under breath. Hope is a dangerous thing, yet today it tastes sweet. Hours pass. The wind freshens, carrying scents faint but strange, green, damp, almost floral. You sniff and feel your chest ache. After weeks of nothing but brine and pitch, even a whisper of earth is enough to choke you. You hear others mutter, naming herbs and trees from memory, each certain of his guess. Letters from past voyages hint that sailors swore they smelled orchards long before land appeared. Perhaps truth, perhaps imagination. You do not care, you drink the scent like water. By afternoon, more signs, floating weeds drift past, green ribbons trailing in the swell. A branch bumps against the hull, leaves still fresh, not yet withered by sea. Men reach for it, pulling it aboard, cradling it like treasure. A leaf breaks off in your hand, veins clear, scent sharp as sap. You crush it to your nose, and nearly weep. The lookout cries again, land, land ahead. Chaos bursts. Men cheer, shout, clap one another's backs. Some fall to their knees, crossing themselves. Others stare wide-eyed, silent with disbelief. You run to the rail, straining forward. At first it is only a shadow, a darker smudge against sky. Then it sharpens, a line, then a shape. Trees rise like spears, green, thick, impossible, after endless grey. Hills roll soft behind them, and the shore gleams pale. Land, solid, certain. The captain raises his hand, calling for order. His voice cracks once, then steadies. Hold fast, we approach with care. Even he cannot hide the spark in his eye. The bosun barks orders, and men spring to them with energy not seen in weeks. Sails trimmed, lines hauled, anchor prepared. All with eager hands, hope makes strength where none remained. As the ship glides nearer, details sharpen, palms sway, their fronds shimmering. Bright birds wheel above, flashes of red and yellow in the air. The water near shore changes color, green to turquoise, clear enough to glimpse sand below. You lean over the rail, breath catching. It is beautiful, impossibly beautiful. Rations are abandoned for talk. Men whisper of fresh fruit, of springs running cold and clean, of shade under trees. Some claim gold glitters in rivers, others speak of people unseen waiting in huts beyond the beach. Records suggest first landfalls often swelled with rumor, each man spinning dreams louder than fact. You hear them all, and you believe all because belief tastes better than wormed water. The anchor drops with a thunderous splash. The ship jerks, then steadies, boats are lowered, their ropes squealing, men clamber in, laughing, shoving, nearly tipping in their haste. You are among them, pressed shoulder to shoulder, the oars dipping as one. Salt spray flecks your face, but now it feels like blessing. The shore grows nearer, details blooming with each stroke. Leaves tremble in the breeze, their sound a song after months of only wind. The scent thickens, earth, flowers, fruit. Your throat tightens, your eyes sting. Thirst claws at you more fiercely now. Desperate for relief, you imagine plunging your face into a stream, gulping until your belly aches. The boat grinds into sand. Men leap out, stumbling, falling to knees. You follow, boots sinking into wet shore. The ground is solid, firm, unmoving, and the shock of it makes your legs tremble. You drop to your knees, pressing your hands into earth, the grains clinging to your fingers. You lift them, taste them, laugh. Others do the same, some kissing the sand, some clutching handfuls to their chest as if it were gold. You rise and move forward. The greenery towers, leaves broad, trunks thick, vines hang heavy with fruit. Green, yellow, orange. A man rushes to pluck one, biting before it is washed. Juice runs down his chin, and he sobs with joy. Another finds a stream trickling into the sea. He throws himself down, drinking, choking, coughing, then drinking again. You kneel beside him, scoop water with trembling hands. It is cold, sweet, alive. You swallow, and tears spill from your eyes. It is like breathing after drowning. The crew scatters, some gathering fruit, others filling casks, others lying on their backs, staring at the sky through leaves. Laughter rises, real this time, strong and ringing. The ship behind you looks smaller now, its scars stark against the brilliance of the land. Yet even in joy, shadows linger. One man mutters that fire on the mast, warned of this, that saints guided them. Another whispers it was doom averted, not blessing given. The arguments flare even on the beach, voices sharp in paradise. Not everyone agreed. The journals always said, some saw salvation, others warning. You feel both pressing inside, unable to choose. The captain stands apart, boots sinking in sand, eyes scanning trees. He breathes deep, but his face stays hard. He knows joy is fleeting, that thirst will return, that storms will rise again. His burden does not end with land, yet even he kneels at the stream, cupping water, letting it spill down his chin. For a moment his mask breaks. For a moment he is only a man who has survived. Night approaches, and torches are lit from driftwood. The beach glows, laughter echoing. Men sing, their voices strong again. You lie on the sand, belly full of fruit and water, staring at stars that no longer feel cruel. Your body loosens, your breath slows. You are alive, on land, your thirst slaked. The fire is only memory, the sea only background, for now. But in your mind as sleep comes, you see its still blue flames clinging to mast and rope, light that watched from storm and calm alike. It lingers even here, where earth is solid and water sweet, a reminder that the sea never truly releases those who serve her. The morning on land feels almost wrong. Your eyes open not to the sway of hammocks or the groan of planks, but to the hush of trees and the soft hiss of surf. For weeks you have woken with rope burns on your palms and salt caked into your hair. Now your fingers press against damp sand, warm and still. A bird trills overhead, bright and sharp, and the sound startles you like cannon fire. You sit up slowly, muscles stiff, but your body lighter than you remember. Around you, men lie sprawled in sleep, mouths slack, bellies full for the first time in memory. Others are already awake, wandering with cautious wonder between the trees. A few kneel at the stream again, scooping water, splashing it over faces, drinking greedily. You join them. The water is colder than anything you remember, sweet, metallic, alive. It stings your cracked lips, then soothes them. You drink until your belly aches, then drink more. You cannot stop. The memory of foul barrels still coats your tongue, and each swallow now washes it further away. The beach bears the marks of arrival. Casks lie open, filling with fresh water under careful watch. Nets are stretched between poles, drying fish caught in the shallows. Fruit husks litter the sand, peels and pits gleaming in the sun. The cat prowls along the edge of the trees, tail high, pausing now and then to sniff, to paw, to vanish into green shadow before reappearing. Even it seems reborn. The captain walks the shore with measured steps. His coat is off, shirt rolled, boots wet with tide. He inspects the filled barrels, tastes the water himself. His face does not soften, yet he lingers longer than necessary, hand resting on the cask as though it were a heartbeat steadied. Men watch him, and for once no one mutters. Survival grants him quiet authority again. You wander inland with a small group. The forest rises tall and thick, air heavy with scents unknown, resin sharp, flowers sweet, something musky and damp. Every sound rings strange, the creak of branches, the buzz of insects, the squawk of bright birds. Your boots sink into soil instead of pitching deck. You bend and touch it, black and rich, crumbling against your fingers. It feels like wealth itself. A man plucks a cluster of fruit, splitting it open to reveal flesh golden and dripping. Juice coats his hands, sticky and fragrant. He eats, groans with pleasure, then laughs until others join him. Soon the laughter spreads, a chorus under the trees. Records suggest sailors on first landfalls often gorged themselves sick. You see it now, men stuffing their mouths, juice running down beards, eyes closed in bliss. For once no one counts portions, no bosun measures rations. The land gives freely, and men take without shame. You kneel by a pool fed by the stream. Small fish flicker silver beneath the surface. You cup one in your hands, slippery and quick, then laugh as it slips free. Your reflection shimmers, face thinner, eyes deeper, hair ragged. Yet you smile, the water blurring your grin. By midday the crew works with purpose again. Casks are lined and filled, food gathered, sailcloth repaired in the shade. Men hum songs, voices soft, hopeful. Quarrels ease, laughter louder, steps lighter. Hope feeds as well as water. Yet even here whispers creep. As you carry fruit back to the boats, you hear two men arguing. One says the fire guided them, blessing their voyage. The other says it cursed them, forcing thirst and storm until land was the only salvation left. Their voices clash, then fade. The debate has no end, only circles. Not everyone agreed, the logs always said. You realize belief will follow you back to sea. That night, fires burn on the sand. Driftwood crackles, sparks spinning into the dark. Men gather close, bellies full, mugs brimming with fresh water. They sing, voices strong again, harmonies rough but rich. You sit among them, warmth on your face, laughter in your chest. The sea roars in the dark beyond, endless, patient, waiting. But tonight it cannot reach you. The captain sits apart, gazing at the horizon. His silhouette glows against firelight, shoulders straight. He does not drink, does not sing. Yet his stillness steadies the crew more than words could. You know he sees farther than this beach, to voyages yet to come, to storms yet to rise. His burden never lifts fully. But for tonight, he lets men rest. That too is command. When sleep comes, it comes heavy. You lie on sand, warmed by fire, the surf a lullaby. Stars sprawl across the sky, gentler now, not cruel. You breathe deep, and the air fills you with something almost forgotten. Peace. In dream the sea still rises. In dream the barrel's still dry. The fire still clings to the mast, blue and cold. But when you wake, dawn glows soft, the stream runs clear, the trees sway green. For now, thirst is sated, fear is distant, you are alive, on land. The memory of fire and empty barrels etched deep but softened by earth beneath your hands. And as you rise, stretching sore muscles, you know the voyage is not over. The sea waits, it always does, but for this day the land is yours, and you belong to it as much as you ever belonged to the ship. The fire fades now, the barrels are only memory. The storm is behind you, and the land lies steady beneath your feet. You can feel the sand still warm from yesterday's sun, each grain soft against your palms. The sea breathes in and out, not roaring now, not threatening, but sighing like a creature finally at rest. Your body is heavy with weariness, but it is a sweet heaviness, the kind that asks nothing more of you. Each muscle loosens, each breath deepens. You are safe here, on this quiet shore. The sails are furled, the ropes coiled, the men asleep around the fading fire. No orders call you, no bells strike, no storm waits beyond the horizon. The gulls cry faintly overhead, then grow distant. The trees sway, their leaves brushing one another with a gentle hush. A stream trickles nearby, its water cool, clear, endless. You bend to sip again, and the taste is sweet, soothing. It washes away the salt, the thirst, the fear. The memory of empty casks and cracked lips drifts further away with every swallow. You close your eyes. Behind your lids, the light is soft, not blue fire, not lightning, only dawn. You are safe now. The ship is anchored. The land holds you. The world that pressed so hard on your shoulders, the waves, the hunger, the whispers of omens, fades like mist in morning sun. What remains is only calm. The fire in the rigging, the cries in the storm, even the rasp of thirst, they are distant echoes now. They cannot touch you. Your breath slows, your heart steadies, you are safe, you are still. The sea recedes behind you, and the world softens to silence. Sleep comes gently, and you let it.